everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Director's Cut. I'm Jackson Kinney alongside my co-director at IUSTV, Drew Fry. And today we have our friend Jimmy Sutton on. Jimmy, how are you today?
Good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm excited to talk some basketball with you guys today.
No problem. All right, we're going to go straight to the NBA. They start tomorrow, actually.
Opening tip-off.
Yeah, opening tip-off in the bubble, which we'll discuss. Because for the last couple minutes we've been talking about the wings Lou Williams went to the strip club for. And I think we've come to an agreement that they were worth leaving the bubble for. But all right. So,
yeah, I mean, they look good. I don't know if I would. I'm not going to condone his actions. The fact that he's going to miss that opening tip-off, that he's going to miss sort of the restart because he went to a gentleman's club.
Okay, but listen, apparently he had to leave the bubble for a family emergency anyway.
Yes.
So why not stop by and go get some comfort food with what are apparently the best wings in Atlanta?
Because I don't think he was going to be missing that first game without the wings. I believe that first game is against the Lakers, right? Isn't that where they're starting off?
Oh, they'll be fine.
I mean, the wings did look good in the picture he showed us. So, I mean,
I
guess only Lou Williams will know if it was worth it or not.
I guess so, yeah.
We'll have to edit in a picture of the wings that he got. But anyway, just going to start into the bubble. Just the general thoughts. It seems to be working. Jimmy, you told me something before we started recording about the 0 tests out of however hundreds of players they tested and players and staff.
Yeah.
And so far, the bubble's been pretty effective.
Yeah, it came out today. 0. There's 344 people inside the bubble, and it came out today. Their last test was July 20th, so today's July 29th, and there was 0 positive tests, which is pretty impressive if you ask me. I mean, looking at everything else going on right now, you have the MLB. They're really struggling with the Marlins outbreak. And then who knows what's going to happen with the NFL, people opting out. But, I mean, obviously this bubble thing is working. They're taking after what the TBT did. And so far it's going well, and hopefully they can continue to do that so that way we can actually have a full, whatever you want to call a normal NBA season to finish it off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the NBA and the NHL, so far the only 2 leagues doing the bubble, and so far they're the leagues having the most success coming back, at least in America.
Yeah, for sure.
There have been a couple of issues with players who have accidentally crossed the line at the bubble going to pick up food and such, which is kind of an oversight, but like you cross the line, you got to quarantine. I think it was Kelly Oubre Jr. who tweeted out, "Hey y'all, the food here isn't great," which we have to talk about. Just order like DoorDash or delivery and go out and get it. And then somebody did, they crossed the line, they got busted, and Kelly Oubre tweeted like, "Never mind."
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about the food. We've all seen the pictures of the food in the NBA bubble. What's going on?
I think, I don't know. I mean, like, granted, they're in a bubble, so, like, obviously not everything's going to be luxurious and all that. And, I think it was Steven Adams came out and said something, and he was the one that was like, these guys need to stop complaining. Like, what do you compare it to? He compared it to wherever he's from or something like that. And he said that, like, it's fine. Like, everyone's making a bigger deal than it needs to be. I just think maybe they're used to more of a luxurious life than what they're stuck in now and being inside the bubble.
I think that as well with the fact that, I mean, these guys are staying in like Disney resorts and in a bubble where, you know, like everything, like they're being sort of like waited on, you know, everything is super careful. You know, it's this huge ordeal. And just whenever you're going to be in one of those like beautiful resorts, you sort of have a higher level, like higher expectation, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to not be receiving, you know, like the fine dining that maybe would normally be going with like the Swan and Dolphin Hotel or something like that, you know, maybe that's a little off-putting, but I remember seeing something from like John Morant, and he's just like, dude, like we're fine, you know, I'm happy living in my suite. I mean, this is a guy that's a Rookie of the Year candidate, fresh out of Murray State. So like, no offense to Murray State, you know, I love my Kentucky schools, but also doesn't necessarily have that expectation.
See, like, that makes sense. It's all about perspective because, like, I get complaining about the food a little bit because I saw the photos and it looks like something a high school athlete would get.
Yeah, it definitely didn't look that appealing in some of the pictures I saw.
At
that's
least
for sure.
not for an athlete on the NBA's level. But at the same time, like, it's free food, and a lot of people could be doing a lot better. The one thing I did have a real problem with was Rajon Rondo posting a picture of his room at a Disney resort saying it was equal to a Hotel 6. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
come on, dude.
Like that might be a stretch right there. Like there's
Yeah.
no way there's no way it's that bad.
Yeah, like, Jesus, man, come on. Have you ever stayed in a Motel 6 before? But anyway.
And
Right.
I'm also wondering what hotels are they being put up in around the country that a Disney resort looks like a Motel 6 to him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no kidding.
like, you're staying at probably a hotel that same level in Utah. Like,
Are there hotels at that level in Utah? This is a Disney resort.
I don't know. Like, maybe when they're in LA or New York, they're in, like, the 5-star on the Ritz hanging out. But, like,
Yeah.
that looks like a nice hotel room in Indianapolis, you know?
Yeah. It could
I
also
think it
be
goes.
part it
Go
could
ahead,
also
Drew.
be
Sorry.
part of that mental aspect of they know that they're coming into that room and they're there to stay.
Yeah.
Maybe some of these players feel trapped by that. The fact that you can't leave this bubble, apparently even to pick up DoorDash. So
Yeah.
when you walk into that room, it's like, well, this is my home for the next, couple of months. So it might feel a little more like smaller and constricting to them, knowing that they don't really have that option to leave.
Yeah, I think it really goes back to kind of what you brought up, perspective, or one of you guys said it. It's like the fact that maybe like the rookies and like the guys who are younger and are coming just out of college and they haven't lived this like amazing life with all this money, with the great food and all of that. And so maybe like someone like Rajon Rondo, who's been in the league for I don't even know how many years, but way longer than a guy like Ja Morant or something like that. So it's all like perspective based, and like maybe they're just used to this, the younger guys are, and the older guys, they're expecting a lot more. And so maybe the older guys are the people who are more upset about it, and that's exactly what's happening.
Mhm. One of my favorite things was when the Heat got to the bubble and Myers Leonard walked in with under one arm his big gaming PC and on the other like his monitor. He's like,
Yeah.
Twitch stream the night, and it's
Yep.
like, okay, that's pretty smart actually.
Hey, he's shotgunning beers real well too. We've seen a lot of videos of him shotgun beers.
One of my favorites has been seeing like Aaron Gordon go down to the lakes at Disney with some of his Magic teammates, and they're just fishing at night.
I mean, I've seen him golfing a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like golf, fishing, shotgun, and beers, and then like that's all the three I've seen. But they're doing and gaming. I guess they've been gaming a lot. I mean,
And
they're keeping
basketball, and I think you got a pretty sweet life, honestly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're living the dream of the bubble. That's
And I can guarantee you they're doing better than the Marlins.
that's true. That's
Don't get me
absolutely true.
started.
Sorry, I had to at least bring it up.
In another thing, the fact that they're making it work in Florida, where it's one of the hottest spots in the country, that's pretty impressive to me too. But
More impressive.
now that they've gotten into the bubble, they've started playing some exhibition games. Is anything stood out for me? Because we've seen Giannis playing at the level we're used to him playing, like he's got no rust. And then there are some players who look like they haven't worked out at all until they got to the bubble. What is there anything that is standing out to you that could be applicable when the games matter here in a couple of days?
I mean, obviously, I think we've seen it all over Twitter. Bull's been going off. That dude has been insane, which is crazy because did he even play during the season, during the first part of the season, the normal season?
If so, it wasn't anything notable.
Because I don't think he did, because I read a tweet earlier this week, and it said something that if a player did not play in the first half of the season and they're playing in the restart right now for the first time, they can still be eligible for Rookie of the Year next year.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I read that about Bull, and next year Bull will still be eligible for Rookie of the Year since he didn't play in this first beginning long part of the season, which is insane because I mean we're seeing this dude. What is he? 7'2", or he might even be taller than that. But the fact that this dude can stroke it from three and just absolutely drain them, and you'll see him block it on one end and dribble the ball at the floor and pop it, like that's insane. It's incredible and it's great for him. It's fun to watch too, honestly.
Yeah, Bull is 7'2", 235. Jesus, how do you defend that?
Yeah.
You can't. And like when he can dribble and shoot the way like Kevin Durant can or something like that, like he's going to be hard to stop. And I hope to see him keep doing well, and I hope that he can lead the Nuggets to something good when the playoffs actually start. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Here,
I
you
think
got
that.
anything standing out to you?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, sort of what you were saying. That's going to be one of the keys to this restart. Is so many teams are going to have that rust. Not only individual players, but just amongst each other. You know, that sort of teammate dynamic. So I think, yeah, these like scrimmage games are going to help, but once we get back into the end of the regular season and into the playoffs, I think it's just, at least for the beginning, it's going to be about which teams have those players that can just absolutely take over. And Bull is looking like one of those players right now. You mentioned Giannis, and I mean, obviously the Bucks aren't going to have any issue, but as long as Giannis can go out there and bully people, it's not going to matter really who passes to where and what teams are able to pick up on defense because it's Giannis and he can bully people. And of course, you can go out west and you've got LeBron and Anthony Davis in on the Lakers, and I think they're in a little bit of an advantage now, other than the Clippers, who tend to have more of that team dynamic as opposed to the 1-2 punch that the Lakers have, and especially without Lou Williams for the time being. So yeah, I think, and that's another reason I think the Pelicans are in a very good spot. I know currently they're out of the playoffs, but they've got Zion, and Zion's another one of those guys that can just bully people. And if it's not clicking for your team, you need that player who's going to step up. So like that could put a team like the Celtics at a disadvantage if they don't immediately gel when they come back, because like Jason Tatum's good, but I don't see him being the type of player that's going to just absolutely push around the opposing defense if it really comes to that. I think the rest of that team's going to need to gel, and if after several months off they can't do that, then they could struggle going into the first rounds of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, honestly, just for me, obviously all the things you guys say are really good, important points, but I can't get over Indiana and how unlucky they've been.
I was going to bring it up at some point, dude.
I mean, it has to be brought up. This is an Indiana University show.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the local team. At first, it looked like Oladipo wouldn't play. He said he wouldn't. And then he's been playing in the scrimmages, and he's been showing out. He's been pretty good. Him and Brogdon are gelling together pretty well.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, okay, cool. If Oladipo can play, we'll be fully healthy. Well, Domantas Sabonis' foot has something to say about that. Plantar fasciitis, he's out of the bubble.
Yep, it's not looking too good. That's for sure.
So now it's going to be Miles Turner holding it down in the bottom with Brogdon and Oladipo, and then I guess whoever you want to throw in the four for Indiana. But they were a team who was looking like they could compete with the 76ers and the East in general. Maybe not Milwaukee to the level they are, but they were looking like they'd be a legitimate threat. But without Sabonis, their all-star, I don't know. I don't know how different that looks for them now.
I've said this all season long, especially when Victor came back. Well, mainly not. It was mainly before Victor came back. You really realized it, that Sabonis really fit into that role of being the guy. Like he really took over really well, and he played fantastic when Oladipo was out. And then Oladipo came back, and he still played well. He was still the guy. And watching those two, after he had like formed that role, and then when Oladipo came back, you really noticed that the offense, if you ever watch them play, that offense runs around Sabonis now. It really does. And so I truly think, even if Victor does come back and play in this start, even though he's playing in the scrimmages, which I also don't get that he's playing in the scrimmages, but he still might not play in the – I don't understand any of that. It doesn't make any sense. But if he does come back and play, it's going to hurt the Pacers more losing Sabonis than it would have hurt losing Victor, I think. I think the offense relies so heavily on him. And I think Brogdon could have held down the backcourt by himself if Victor didn't play.
I think that's probably right because, like, you mentioned it, Sabonis was the backbone of Indiana. Defense, offense, everything.
That team sort of formed around him this year. This year's team was based on Sabonis. Years past, it was Oladipo. But adding Oladipo in the middle of this past season was a compliment to the team.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, without Sabonis, it just won't be the same team.
Right,
Yeah.
and Oladipo still hasn't confirmed he's going to play in actual games after the scrimmages.
And if he doesn't play and then we're out of Oladipo and Sabonis, then we're even more unlucky than we already were talking about. So
right, the offense will have to rely on the likes of Miles Turner, who can be a producer if he absolutely has to be. TJ Warren, who can be hot and cold. Yeah. Aaron Holiday, second year in the league, just about. I mean, there's a lot of names that, aren't really that proven in the role
Mhm.
of, number one guy. Malcolm Brogdon, of course, will still be there at the point, but then you'll have guys like TJ McConnell backing him up, which McConnell has impressed me all season long.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. Indiana's got it rough, and then so far. But if Oladipo decides to play, maybe they can get hot and go on a run. Who knows?
I am nervous. I'm curious to see how they will play with. So I mean, like we saw Sabonis without Oladipo. Now what's it going to be like Oladipo without Sabonis if he decides to play? And I really don't know what to expect. I hope for good things because I want to see him win as a Pacers fan.
Mhm.
But they also don't have like the easiest schedule either. I mean, they have to play the Heat, which is going to be that's a great matchup right there. The Heat are pretty hot usually, and
They
is Jimmy
they play
Butler
the
playing?
Heat twice,
Yeah.
and as we saw, like I think it was a couple of weeks, if not a week before the pause in play, it was T.J. Warren versus Jimmy Butler
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to bring up that
going
too.
at each other.
I'm excited to see that. That'll be fun if that happens again. So.
And then they start the schedule with the 76ers, which sucks Sabonis is out because Sabonis versus Embiid is always fun to watch.
Mhm.
Then they play the Wizards, the Magic back to back. Those 3 games for the Pacers should be pretty winnable, you know? And then the Suns should be winnable.
Yep.
And then this is where it gets tough. They start out tough with the 76ers, 5 games that should be winnable that they need to win because the next 4 are the Lakers, the Heat, the Rockets, and the Heat.
Yeah, that's really tough.
That's a tough stretch right there.
Tough. I mean, they're locked in. They'll make the playoffs, that's for sure. And my guess is if they win those games that you just brought up, and let's say they do lose all those harder ones, they'll probably be stuck right in that 5-6 range still, which is exactly where they're at right now. But
Mhm.
I mean, that doesn't make the matchup any easier once the playoffs actually start. So
Exactly. And then there is, I guess we can go into some predictions now, but before we get heavy into that, I do want to ask because, Drew, you brought up Zion,
Yes.
and he's going to be one of the most exciting players to watch. And you guys can say Zion again, but I want to know if there's one guy that you're going to be tuning into everything he does when he's on TV. Who's that one player that you think will be so much fun and breakout?
I mean, of course, yeah, I can go back to Zion because I think that's the easy answer, and that's one of the reasons he brought it up. But I'm just really interested. There's a lot of rookies or I guess second year players as well that I think this is in such an incredible like new experience. Like no one has done this, this sort of atmosphere. And I don't doubt that guys like LeBron and guys like Giannis can handle it, but I feel like there are going to be some rookies to step up, whether it's John Morant and the Grizzlies. Um, but I'm thinking more along the lines of, I mean, just look at the young group that the Heat have: Bam Adebayo and Ken Nunn. I mean, if those two can go off in this atmosphere, that's going to be so fun to watch. I mean, the Heat are already fun because they got Jimmy Butler, but add in those two when they get hot, and I think that'll be absolutely incredible.
I love watching Bam Adebayo play basketball.
Oh yeah,
he's awesome. For me, I don't know if like maybe not necessarily like a breakout player, like who I think is going to do really well. It's kind of like guys that I'm excited to see. Well, like for example, like Jamal Crawford, like he hasn't been on the league on a team all season, which I hate because I think he's a really good player. I mean, I know he's old, but I think he's a lot of fun to watch. And the fact that I think he's got signed by the Nets, and the Nets are down their top 3 players. Like he's going to be playing a lot of minutes, and so I'd really be excited to watch him. I also really like watching the Nuggets. I love watching Jokic and Bol. I've seen that in the scrimmage a couple times. I know I already talked about Bol, but like watching both of them side by side, that's a lot of fun. And then obviously, I mean, you can always just say like the veterans, like you talked about, like Giannis is gonna do well, LeBron's gonna do well. Even watching like J.R. Smith in the scrimmages, so we haven't seen him play in a while on the Lakers. Like he's been pretty fun to watch too. He hasn't done bad either. So it's kind of like those new guys that you haven't seen play in a while. And obviously, I'm always going to tune into the Pacers, so I'll be rooting to watch Miles Turner and Vic, hopefully, if he plays.
I'm going to kind of cheat because I've got 2 that I want to say, and one of them is very much not allowed because it's 2 players. But I'll just start with John Morant because I love John Morant so much.
yeah.
I saw a clip from him this morning in a scrimmage where it was easily one of the top 10 dunks in the season. And if it had been done in the regular season, you'd be seeing it on highlights forever. But since it was a scrimmage game, who knows? But it was so good. And he's just so much fun. He's probably, to me, the best story in the league because he was going to like a JUCO D3 school when Murray State's coach saw him working out in a gym and said, "You signed with anybody?" He goes, "No." And he's like, "I think you should come play for me." And then he takes him to the tournament. He gets all that national exposure. Boom, there he is. I don't think there's a better story in the NBA right now.
That's crazy.
And, I might be wrong, but to me, it's all Ja.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where it's going to be cheating for me.
Oh, gosh.
I'm curious now.
I'm also so curious.
It's the Mavericks. It's the entire Mavericks.
The team as a whole.
Okay.
Because if they can learn how to play defense, they were 17th in the league in the regular season, then they will be unstoppable. Because what people forget is because before the pause, they were scoring at 0.8 points per 100 possessions, which was better than the 2018-19 Golden State Warriors, who set the all-time record for that. They were literally the best offense in NBA history between Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic. So if they can keep that offense up and learn how to play some defense, you can't beat them. And they might just outshoot you, even if they don't play defense.
I mean, Luka's so much fun to watch. So, I mean, I don't blame you for that answer at all. He's incredible. I love watching him play. I think in the next couple of years, he's already a top player in the league. In the next couple of years, he'll be right at that, Giannis, LeBron level, which is going to be awesome. A lot of fun to watch him grow from where he's came from.
And the weirdest thing is, I brought up Doncic and Porzingis, but they haven't even played to their top potential this year. When they're on the floor with both of them, the Mavericks score 115 points per 100 possessions. You take Porzingis off the court, it goes higher. They score 2 more points per possession than they would with him on the court. If they can find chemistry together, it might be the scariest thing in the league. It might be better than LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
We'll see. I hope so. That'd be fun to watch.
My gosh.
That someone needs to take down LeBron and AD eventually.
Wouldn't it be so 2020 to have a finals of the Dallas Mavericks and the Milwaukee Bucks?
Oh my gosh. If that happens, I'll be shocked.
Adam Silver just pounding his desk in frustration that it's just 2 random teams from cities that have no big TV markets.
Exactly. That would be so 2020. You're right.
But
I mean, Dallas is at least a big city. I think
it's still
you have to get more into
It's not LA. It's not Boston.
What if Ja takes the Grizzlies?
Dude, if Ja and the Grizzlies
that would make
this is Milwaukee.
Dude, don't even get me started on that. I was going to say something about that, and I was like, no, that's too crazy. But, oh, my God. I will lose my shit.
I mean, they're only a few games behind the Mavs. Well, actually, there are a lot of games behind the Mavs, but they're only a few seeding spots. They're not far seeding-wise.
But, so move into a little bit of predictions. Who do we think is – okay, the first one I want you to say is there a team that is not currently in the playoff field that might surprise and get in there through the seeding games? Anybody?
I was telling Drew this earlier before we went on air, and it's not really – I'll say the Pelicans because they're not in the playoff race right now. They're tied with 2 other teams. They're 3.5 games back in the West. They're at the 9th spot. So, it's not really – I guess you can call them a surprise team to make it into the playoffs, but once I'm about to tell you what I'm about to tell you, it's not surprising at all that they're going to make it. I truly think they're going to make it in. They play the first 2 games against the Jazz and the Clippers. Those will probably be 2 losses. If they win one of those, great. That's even better for them. Their next 6 games in this reseeding, regular season, whatever you want to call it, before they go into the actual playoffs, all teams that are below 500, and they play the Nets and the Wizards, who are each without their top 3 players. The Wizards don't have Bradley Beal, who was 2nd in the league in scoring at 30.5 points per game. And then we know the Nets are without Kevin Durant, without Kyrie. Who else is DeAndre Jordan on them? And he's not playing, I don't think. So they're out all those guys. Oh, and Spencer Dinwiddie. That's what I'm thinking of. They don't have him either. I think the Pelicans have the easiest chance in the world to get it into the playoffs. And like we were just talking about, Adam Silver loves that because that means Zion on the playoffs, and that's great for ratings. So,
like you said, go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, I was gonna agree. I was thinking the same thing. And from what I've heard from a lot of people, I don't know if Pelicans making the playoffs is even as much of a surprise. It's a lot of people sort of expect it, which I know they still have a few teams to pass, and it's a short schedule. But yeah, Jimmy, as you mentioned, after those first 2 games, they could very easily just win out. And if you run the table at that point, you're in a pretty good position. Another team that I just at least feel obligated to mention, I don't truly believe that they're going to make the playoffs, but you can't really doubt out Popovich at any point.
True.
Like, the Spurs are still there. They're hanging around. They're near the bottom, and they're statistically, it's not looking very good for their playoff chances. But if we're really looking at like a surprise, like someone to just sort of climb out, from, one foot in the grave, I mean, when's the last time Popovich and the Spurs have really like disappointed and let down? Like, it's just an incredibly, that's just been a dynasty for years, and incredibly well coached. And if someone can find a way to like figure out this this new experience and everything that's going on, I just feel like it's going to be Popovich and his coaching staff.
So I think something else that we need to mention if we're talking about like teams who are out of the playoffs trying to get in, the NBA, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but the NBA is doing a thing where if the 9 seed is within 4 games of the 8 seed, they do calling it a play-in tournament game where the 9 seed can qualify. So the 8 seed, I'm reading the rules right now, the 9 seed can qualify for the postseason by winning 2 of those games if they're within the 4, and then the 8 seed can eliminate the 9 seed by just winning 1 time. So, I mean, that opens up opportunities even more, just like you were talking about, whether it is someone like the Spurs or it makes it even easier for the Pelicans, like I was talking about, which is kind of like that'll be fun to watch, actually. Like if they're within that range and they're playing like a play-in game to like who's going to make it in, that'll be awesome to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking right now at the standings. So the Grizzlies are 18 games out of first, but they're in that last playoff spot. I mean, you go down to Phoenix, they're 24 games out of first, so that's a difference of 6 games, and you just have to be within 4. Now, of course, you have to be like ahead of the other teams. You got to make it to the 9 seed for that to qualify. But I feel like in the West, there's a very good chance that happens. Like I would be shocked if one team runs away and is able to separate themselves by 4. In the East, it's just the Wizards who are fighting. And as you mentioned, the Wizards are undermanned anyways. I don't think anything's coming of the East.
The Western playoff picture is much more interesting. And the one team that you guys haven't mentioned who is in that 9th spot is Portland.
Yep.
Who, they're fighting an uphill battle. Their schedule is going to be really hard. Grizzlies, Celtics, Rockets, Nuggets, Clippers, Sixers on a back-to-back, Mavericks, and then the Nets.
Yeah.
They have an incredibly tough schedule.
About as bad as it gets, yeah.
For a team who was losing themselves before the shutdown. They'd only won 6 of their last 16 games. But Damian Lillard is on the Blazers, and he's having his best individual career season. And Jusuf Nurkic is coming back from injury, so they don't have to play Hassan Whiteside as much.
Yeah.
So I think Portland might end up being dangerous if Dame can keep up what he had going in the regular season. And
they have to find some Dame magic, that's for sure. Because with the Pelicans' easy road and then that difficult of a road for them, it's going to be that much harder for them to actually make it into that game. But like we were just talking about, all it takes is 4 games if they're in the 9th seed, and then they can win that playing game and make it in.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Portland, like I said, uphill battle for them. But I wouldn't be surprised if Dame just takes over a couple of games and says, nah, we're going to the playoffs.
Here's the thing. If Portland makes it in, then any team that does have to face them, like I'm going to assume, let's say that the Lakers take the 1 seed and then end up playing that 8. If it is Portland, I would be a little scared. I mean, I don't think the Lakers are gonna drop it. No. But if Portland is able to make it into the playoffs with that schedule that you just mentioned, then clearly something is clicking beyond beating up on your fellow sub-500 teams.
Right,
they will have had to beat the Celtics and the Sixers and the Rockets and so on to get there.
Yeah, getting Nurkic back, they're getting Zach Collins and Jalen Adams back, so they're getting healthy going into this. Mm-hmm. That might be the difference. Their real issue was defense. They were 27th in the league, but 9th in offense. So the scoring was there. It's just you got to defend better, and I think Nurkic will help with that. And then pair that up with Dame being Dame. Mm-hmm. I think you'll at least be set up for a little bit of success,
Yep.
And when we were talking about the Pelicans earlier, I did want to bring up just real quick that there is much watch TV. You mentioned how Zion brings a different energy to the court. the only player who can also do that is Ja Morant. And the Grizzlies and the Pelicans play each other in their playing games, which I don't know about you, but that's appointment television for me.
Oh yeah.
Well, imagine this. So the Pelicans and the Grizzlies end up fighting for the 8 and 9. It's probably going to be within 4 games.
Oh my
But
God.
they have to play a 2-game series. Whichever team advances goes on to play, again, what I'm assuming, LeBron and the Lakers and Anthony Davis. So imagine if you get Zion versus Ja in a 2-game series, and then say the Pelicans win that, then you get Zion versus LeBron.
Or Ja versus LeBron. Either way, fans win.
Yes.
That's going to be great. I can't.
The first round, that
that'll be
1-8 seed is going to be incredible.
So let's move into the kind of the last and the biggest prediction. We've talked about surprise team. We've talked about surprise players. But now I think we give some time to the teams who get all of the time usually. Who can anybody beat the Lakers? Can anybody beat the Bucks? Is it going to be Lakers Bucks? Maybe the Clippers sneak in there. But which of these teams? I mean, basically, I'm just asking who's going to be in the finals because I don't see it being anybody but the Lakers, Bucks, Clippers, maybe a surprise team in the East like the 76ers make a run. I don't know. I don't see anybody in the East coming out but the Bucks. Can anybody take down these 3 teams?
I'm very against the 76ers. Well, not like personally.
I'm personally against the 76ers, but
okay.
put that aside.
I mean, look, yeah, but fan loyalties aside, I don't see the hype in the 76ers. This is a team that consistently can't win on the road. Yep. And the way I see it, every game is now a road game. Like, you don't have any fan support behind you. Maybe they crack under pressure, and maybe that's why they can't win on the road. But if that's the case, then this dynamic is not going to work for them either. So either they need home fans behind them, which they don't have, or they break under pressure, which they do have. I don't see the 76ers in a good position. I think everything has to go right for them, and I just don't think it will. And then in the East, yeah, I just think the Bucks are sort of unmatched. I mean, most of the powerhouses are in the West, and it's going to be very hard to
Their only threat in the East to me, now that I'm looking at it, I mean, it seems to be Boston.
Yeah, that's what I was
because Boston just got Gordon Hayward back before the shutdown, and he was playing pretty well, pretty confidently.
Is he in the bubble?
I believe Hayward's going to be in the bubble.
He is going to be in the bubble? Okay, I thought I read something. Maybe he came back or something, but I thought he left for his daughter or something like that.
Maybe. I'm not seeing that right now, but if he's there and Kimba is looking good the way that they thought he would when they signed him, I mean, or when they traded for him, between Kimba, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, I think they could be really dangerous.
I still think it's like the Bucks, Lakers, Clippers, and I think it's just such a big drop off. Like I'm like looking at some of these teams, and I want to argue for someone else to like who I think is going to make it up top and like have an actual chance, but I really I don't see it happening. Like
maybe Toronto, who's sitting in second.
And that's what I'm trying to like look in the West too. Like I want to argue like the Rockets with Westbrook and Harden if they can pull something out. But I mean, or the Nuggets if Jokic goes off and if Jamal Murray plays well, hopefully maybe they can do something.
Yeah.
It's so unmatched, like you were saying, comparing it to LeBron and AD and PG and Kawhi on the Clippers, and then Giannis with the Bucks. Like I don't see anything happening. Yeah. I guess a good conversation would be like Lakers, Clippers. Who makes it there? Which one are you guys taking?
I don't know, dude. It's so even between Kawhi and LeBron, and then the supporting cast around him is so good on either team. It's too close to call. Just say Los Angeles is going to the finals, and I think you're pretty set.
Yeah, I think I'd take the Lakers if I was taking one. I think that would be that would probably be my take. If I was betting, I would bet on the Lakers. That'd probably be who I take. Lakers, Bucks. Fair. And I really think LeBron wants it bad. As much as I would root for the Bucks over the Lakers, I think that the Lakers will win. That would be my final prediction.
Okay, Drew, who do you think is going to win?
I think I'm along the same lines. Unfortunately, I hate agreeing when it comes to predictions because that makes it boring. But
like in some sports, you can have fun with it. Like in Major League Baseball, if they get a postseason, you could argue a good 6 or 7 teams could win the World Series.
Oh yeah, I
And the
accidentally
NHL,
argued that
you
the
could
Angels were
say,
making the World Series in our last show, and I don't know how I ended up arguing for that. Like that was not in my plan whatsoever. I'm just like, let's throw out a team and see what happens.
yeah, but like,
So if I'm gonna do that here, would you like me to do that here? Just pick some random teams and then go for it.
I mean, if you really want to argue the case for like the Mavericks or
Oh,
the
see, I'm not gonna go that far down.
I was gonna say, I
No.
want to hear your case for the Spurs right now. You already brought up Pop once. Let's see you do it.
yeah,
Yeah, I
really,
can't.
bring up his championship pedigree and experience. But
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue the Spurs, but I would love to see something like Raptors Nuggets.
Yeah.
But I think the weirdest matchup we get in the finals is like Clippers Raptors. But outside of that, I don't see anybody in the East really challenging the Bucks seriously. The only chance for me thinking about it, looking at it, is the Raptors and their defense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But
Yeah, and the Raptors are a very deep team, so like it could work out well for them if someone's able to shut down Giannis, then the Raptors can just step up everywhere around the court, in every other position. But yeah, it's gonna be about stopping Giannis, and I don't really think that's possible.
Yeah.
But okay, the last question I have. It's fun, trust me.
All right.
Give me the one thing you would do if you had the NBA snitch line number right now.
Yeah.
Who would you call and report in? Just as a joke. And who do you think you could call that they would believe they're doing something wrong and then get them a 10-day quarantine?
Oh, man.
If I'm actually trying to make it believable, I'd go for someone like I'm trying to think like Jimmy Butler, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's a big name I would need off of another
But
team.
here's the thing.
Yeah.
I thought about saying Jimmy Butler's name, but he's so dedicated to his work ethic. Would he
That's true.
risk doing something stupid?
He might be a nuisance like in the hotel room,
Yeah.
but that's true. He probably wouldn't leave campus because
My
he's
dude Jimmy Butler's probably doing suicides in the hallway at night, keeping everybody up.
Right.
Right.
I mean, you could theoretically, hypothetically, call one in on J.R. Smith, and they would.
Oh, that's a really good answer.
That's
a
true.
really good answer. Yeah.
Is he going to be a big player on the Lakers when they come back? I don't know.
Yeah.
But we might not find out because I'm pretty sure you'd call it in and they would believe it.
I mean, honestly, you think anyone's called in and just been like, hey, yeah, Braun crossed the line. Get him out of here. Get him out. We need to win this year.
Doc Rivers was joking about that in one of his press conferences. He says, yep, I saw – he's like, yeah, of course, I'm just going to start saying that I saw, like, LeBron out there. And I saw he just starts, like, listing off his opponents. And he started listing off some of the coaches. And he's just like, oh, yeah, they were all crossing the lines.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I would love to have a snitch hotline in real life. Not to use, but just to have.
Just to have it.
See, I don't even think I'd take it seriously. Like, I would just do what we were just talking about is I'd call in and just yell out, like, a big name and try and get them in trouble and see what happens.
You
right.
Just pick the phone and go, Anthony Davis. Hang up and let him
Yeah,
do an
exactly,
investigation.
Right?
And just, and then they should at least have to, like, he's been taken out of practice for a day while they, like, figure out what happened.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I wonder how many of those guys actually, like, okay, let's go back to, like, hypothetically, Jackson, what you were talking about. Who would be one guy in the NBA who would actually pick up and call and snitch on somebody?
Chris Paul.
I was going to say, that's where all the rumors started was with Chris Paul.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I could see like Grayson Allen, dude, if he was in the bubble. I don't know if he's there or not.
Yeah, that would be such a Grayson Allen move. You're so right.
Oh, my gosh.
You're so right. That's such a Grayson Allen move.
Oh, that's so funny.
Literally any Philadelphia 76er doing it.
Yeah. Oh, I could see Embiid doing it. I could definitely see Joel Embiid doing it.
Maybe, but like, I think Ben Simmons over Embiid.
Yeah, that's probably true. I do agree. Anyone on the 76ers is probably a good bet, actually.
I bet I bet their coach came on the bus and said, okay, look, here's the number of the hotline. I want you to put it in your phone on speed dial.
Yeah, right.
I want you to do this now.
Dial 1. Put it as an emergency contact.
I want you to be able to Face ID your phone and it instantly calls the snitch line.
Exactly.
But yeah.
We've also learned from the lesson from the weekend is apparently rappers are also big candidates to give away where you are.
That's true.
There was a Harlow is the one that gave away Lou Williams on accident. Now, I'm sure he was going to get caught otherwise, but yes, that was
Funny that Jack Harlow is the reason that he got caught. Like that's
right. I don't think it's the singular reason that he's on quarantine now, but that was what brought it to a little bit of national prominence. So
one day we're gonna get a really great 30 for. They better have cameras behind the scenes, and one day we better get a really great 30 for 30 about the bubble.
oh yeah.
that'd be a good.
Yeah, Drew, you got anything else?
I would just like someone to like call the snitch hotline on someone who's not there, like on accident. They're just like running through a list. Like I could just see, because you were mentioning like who's someone that you could like report, and I'm like, oh, Kyrie. And I'm like, wait a minute. But also, I'd like to try that and just see what they do.
Maybe like
Steph's breaking rules and Steph's not even there.
Right.
Jimmy, you got anything else?
No, I'm good, man.
Right.
I'm excited. I'm really excited, though. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I usually don't follow the NBA that much, but like being without sports for this long, and basketball is one of my favorite sports to watch. I'm gonna be watching it. I'm really excited. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. Very excited for this to come back. Games start this weekend. It's gonna be a hell of a time. Thank you all for watching. We will be back. Hopefully, the next episode we do, Drew, will be about the NHL, but we'll figure that out. Jimmy, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day.
Absolutely.
And tune in next time, guys. Thanks for watching.